Hey everyone, so for this week's lesson, we are going to be focusing on symmetry, and we're going to start off the lesson with a quote that says, "Creativity takes courage." So if you are being creative in any way right now, if you are doing these art projects, if you are expressing yourself through music or through art, then you are being brave and you should be very proud of yourselves. So symmetry means the same image on both sides. And we see symmetry everywhere. We see it in our faces, we see it in our bodies, we see it in buildings. So take a look around your house or wherever you are, and where do you notice symmetry? Even in the closet behind me, you can see they're symmetrical. So this is an example of symmetry. These are the gardens at the Palace of Versailles in France. And for some reason, humans find symmetry very pleasing to look at, and it just has a kind of familiar feeling, right? Because it is everywhere. This is another beautiful example of symmetry. This is the Taj Mahal in India, and you can see it's exactly the same on the left and the right side. And even on the bottom, with this reflection in the water, it's even symmetrical on the bottom and the top. So this artist, MC Escher, he explored symmetry and geometry in his artwork. You can see that here with the two hands and the pencils. And he also made this artwork with tiles, and so he traveled through Italy and Spain, and he was inspired by the different cultures, the architecture, nature, and he also studied insects. So for this project, we are going to create our own insect. Here's another artwork that he did, so you can see the repeating images kind of create like a puzzle, right? So to begin this project, I'm going to show you the sketching process. So what you're going to do in your sketchbook, you are going to draw a line straight down the middle, and you're just going to practice drawing the same image on the left side and the right side. And draw some challenging shapes just to get warmed up. Does not have to be perfect. This is just you getting ideas out there. And I'm going to include a bunch of different pictures of insects at the end of this presentation for you to choose from. If you have an encyclopedia of insects at home that you can look at, that would be awesome. If you want to go outside and look at them in real life for inspiration, you can do that, or you can make up your own from your own imagination. So here I am drawing the left side first, and then I just copy the same thing on the right side. And then for my next one, I drew a butterfly, and then I just added whatever designs I wanted to after that. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. You are just warming up when you are sketching. So you can use whatever supplies you have available. You can use markers, colored pencils, pens, pastels. If you want to keep it black and white, you can just use a pencil and really practice your shading. Just a tip for you guys, if you're going to use pastels, you could try using them on a black piece of paper, and it'll have like a different look. It'll stand out. The colors will be more vibrant. If you don't have black paper, you could also get a piece of cardboard. If you have an old cereal box, you could get a piece of that, and then you could paint it black, and then on top of that, use your pastels. So I'm going to show you some examples of different insects so that you can decide which materials you want to use. So this one is done with marker. So they drew it in marker, and then they went over it with paint. If you're going to do that, I would recommend using a Sharpie, because the washable markers will blend when you add water. If you use a Sharpie and then you paint on top of that, the marker's not going to go anywhere. If you like to cut up pieces of paper and use glue, if that's more your style, you could cut up magazine papers, You could use paper plates. This one's a combination of cut paper and drawing. So here it looks like they used a metallic marker that they had. That's why it shows up on the black paper. Or if you want to paint a whole paper plate first and then cut it up in half, that way it's symmetrical, you could do that too. If you have like this thin tissue paper, that would be an interesting layering effect. If you have a newspaper, that would be cool. So these are some examples with the pastel. So they drew it first with pencil and then they colored it in with oil pastels. So this is what I was talking about, where they used chalk pastel on top of black paper. And they actually, so they drew it in pencil first, and then on top of that, they used glue, like this glue. I don't have whichever black glue they used, but so they used black glue and then they went over their lines. Then they waited for that to dry and then they colored it in with chalk pastels. So you can feel free to experiment with your materials. If you're gonna use glue to outline, then just make sure you are waiting for the glue to dry before you start coloring it in. And you could also combine materials, combine pastels and pencils. You could combine them in your sketchbook first so that you can see what it looks like. And I'll show you guys next week whatever materials I decide to use. So I'm going to link this presentation below so you can look at it for inspiration and just to look at images of insects while you are sketching yours. So you could start out with a more simple outline and then you could add your designs. But I want you to pick something that you feel a little bit like, can I do this? I want you to feel challenged. Make it a little bit difficult for yourself. So you could always add more details. These are examples of beetles. So same on the left as on the right. These have a lot of details. So these would be really nice if you want to keep it simple and just do a pencil drawing. I think these could look really nice as well. So be creative with your materials that you have. Experiment in your sketchbook first so that you can have a better idea of what you do when you do your final one. And have fun, and I miss you guys. Bye.